Hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good morning. My name is Muhammad Rushdin bin Muhammad Rusali. I am last year student, which is now I do a bachelor project, and my project name is comparison study on total protein extracted by double boiling and saucelette method from Ulva lactoca, which is our green algae, for its potential application in skincare or cosmetic. Okay. I would like to appreciate my supervisor, which is TS Dr. Siti Aisyah binti Mansur, as my supervisor and guide me in making this thesis and this project. And department is from JTKK, Faculty of Engineering Technology. Okay, for abstract, the demand for natural-based health or skin product has increased in recent years. One of the biomaterial widely employed in skincare product is peptide for its ability to make up a certain protein that are required by skin. However, peptide-based skincare products are prohibitively pricey. This is because of purification of possible peptide is complex and necessitates high quality equipment. Therefore, this study aims to explore and provide a low cost method that could help industry to utilize and produce a peptide based product at a reasonable price. Okay, in this study, the content of green algae, which is Ulva lactoca, were extracted by double boiling and saucelette using three different solvents, namely pure methanol, the mixture of methanol and distilled water, which is ratio 1:1, and the distilled water alone. The extraction process was maintained at 60 degrees Celsius for 6 hours for both methods. When comparison was made among the solvents used, the mixture of methanol water, which is the mixture, successfully extracted more compound from the algae by 79.58% than pure methanol with a 33.69%, and distilled water alone, which is 98.70% respectively. Okay, the extract were then qualitatively assessed for the presence of peptides or proteins using hydrogen reagent. Qualitatively, all 6 extracts are changed in the color from the green to purple, which is the green is from the green algae, and to the purple, which is it turns to the Rohimund purple with a non-hydrogen reagent indicating the presence of peptides or proteins in them. Based on BSA standard curve, the quantity of peptides or proteins in every extract was quantified. Quantification of peptide or protein by using BSA as reference show that with a pure methanol and the mixture methanol, mixture of methanol and distilled water, which is ratio 1:1, and distilled water alone, the peptides or proteins yield is 5.8 gram per mil, which is for the pure methanol. For the mixture is 13.5 gram per mil, and for the last one, distilled water, 13.75 gram per mil for double boiling method. And this is for double boiling method. And for the saucelette method, for the pure methanol, yield 10.13 gram per mil. For the 1:1 mixture is 1.75 gram per mol, and for the distilled water is 7.56 gram per mole for the Soslate method. This study showed that Ulva lactuca has potential as a peptide source, and the finding maybe can be development of the skincare products from this useful green algae. Okay, next is methodology. Methodology that used in this study is firstly for the objective one, the algae. The algae we get from the Vietnam, which is the name of company is Hang Shan Co. Latitude from the Vietnam. And because in the Malaysia we have Ulva lactuca itself, but it is not it is not commercialized yet, and inshallah may God give permission for the next year or future, Malaysia will use this algae to produce more product, peptide based product. Okay, for the that's from where the algae is get, and then from the objective one we have a material equipment is prepared, which is first for Soslate method, absolutely we use a Soslate, and for double boiling method we are using water bath, which is the conical flask. We put the samples and the solvent together in the conical flask, and then we boiling, which is double boil, boiling with the in the water bath, and the conical flask is close enough so the solvent is not evaporate. For the temperature that used in this extraction is 60 degrees Celsius. Why 60 degrees Celsius? This is because the methanol itself, the boiling point of methanol is 64 degrees Celsius, which is it near to the boiling point. At the same time, we need to completely extract from the Ulva lactuca. That's why we use 6 hours in the 60 degrees Celsius to extract the maximum as possible. Okay, that is for the extraction. Okay, after the extraction, we centrifuge the samples, which is we don't want the debris matter which is non-extractable, because the peptides that we want is soluble with the water, and absolutely we need a supernatant from the after the centrifugation occur. So the centrifugation occur at the 10,000 rpm, which is for 60 seconds. Then the supernatant is get. So after we get the supernatant, we use a rotary evaporator to evaporate the excess of solvent from the samples, which is Ulva lactuca that we extract. Then this is for the objective one. So we have a dry sample, which is not dry but wet, but don't have a solvent, and then we use that kind of sample to proceed objective 2, which is qualitative access to qualitatively assess presence of peptides or protein, which is we use that samples by using Ninhai reagent to make sure that in that sample have a peptides or proteins, which is after we use Ninhai reagent, then we boil to speed up the reaction, Ninhai reagent and the peptides. Okay, so this is for objective 2. For objective 3 is quantification of peptides and protein by Nihadrin protein and assay. So quantification, we use BSA, which is bovine serum albumin as a standard curve to compare the conversion factor, which is the slope from the BSA curve. So from the slope BSA curve, we compare with the unknown sample by its absorbance. So when we need to find out the absorbance itself, so I search that the absorbance for using Nihadrin reagent is 570 nanometer for the wavelength, and then after we boil, and we must boil for the speed up the reaction, and then we compare from the slope that standard curve BSA, and then we can get the exactly amount of unknown samples for the peptides or protein. Okay, so after all the objective 1 until 3, we need to do a data analysis, which is so crucial and important for give the reason why the result being like that. Okay, this is for methodology. Okay, next. Okay, for introduction, dry algae Ulvalactoca is used from Hang Son, CO latitude, Vietnam, and the extraction is run by Soslate apparatus and water bath by using 3 different solvents, which is methanol, distilled water itself, and mixture of methanol distilled water with a ratio 1:1. And then the extraction will centrifuge at 10,000 rpm with 1 minute in room temperature to remove debris and non-extractable matter, and only take a supernatant. After that, a centrifuge extract is concentrated by using a rotary evaporator, which is at the 40 degrees Celsius to obtain dry extractive. The methanolic extract is dry for isolation and for the qualitatively access and quantification. So the quantification of the protein or potential peptides is run by using UV-Vis spectrometer with a Nihadrin reagent at 570 nanometer as wavelength, and bovine serum albumin, which is BSA, is used as the standard curve to compare the unknown potential peptides in Ulvalactoca. For qualitatively assess of the peptides, the purple color complex in the tube shows the presence of the peptides or protein. The sample and signal positively result the lack of complex in the tube shows there are amino acids in the sample, which is negative result. So when the no color purple, so it's no result for the qualitatively presence. But if the solution turn to the purple, so the result is positively. Okay, so from the result and the discussion, the result that we see from this graph, first of all, is percentage of yield extraction of Ulvalactoca. The percentage that have the higher extraction by using double boiling method, which is the double boiling method have the agitation at the 150 rpm, and the surface area is large, so the extraction occur is perfectly and successfully as maximum as it can. So why the Soslate method extract less from the water bath or double boiling method? Because the sample itself in the tea bag, which is compressed in the Saucelette apparatus, which is, if you see the apparatus is straight line, and then if you want to extract the sample, you need to put the sample in the glass, which is so narrow, and it so cannot, it don't have a large area as the double boiling method. Okay, so but that's a for method, the highest yield of extraction. But for the solvent that yield more extraction is mixture of methanol and water itself, because the methanol and water have different polarity, which is methanol have a polarity less than water, and the inductive effect in the methanol is large, which is it cannot attract the polarity, but what I can say is methanol can the methanol can attract more non-polar component, and the distilled water itself can attract the polar component, which is with the mix of them will yield more extraction. Okay, that is for extraction. For the qualitatively presents, so you can see from the picture that the our sample, my sample is turned from green, which is the green of the algae itself, to the purple, which is Rohmann purple, which is there is presence of the peptides or protein. You can see the reaction from the anhydrine and the peptide itself. Then it will react the anhydrine, and how it can be faster, so we speed it by using the heat. So that's all for the qualitative. And for quantitative, the percentage of peptides of the peptides from Ulvalituca, the comparison is using 1 to 1000 dilution, because the 1 to 10 dilution we cannot the machine itself cannot read the absorbance. For the 1 to 100, all the samples except pure methanol cannot read the samples, while that's why we use 1 to 1000 dilution to compare all the samples. So in this case, we can see it has her pros and cons itself, which is by the double boiling method with the mixture methanol and distilled water itself, ratio 1 to 1, it is the highest extraction of peptides, which is we quantify the peptide in the mixture by using the mixture of solvent, and using double boiling method, it yield more peptides. But we cannot compare, but it is obvious that the double boiling extract more. But for the Saucelette also, it has a pros itself, because for the pure methanol is large, it is the highest of extraction of peptides. Okay, I think that's all for the result discussion, so we move to the next. For the literature, I read for the green algae, which is Ulva electrica itself, and then the application of Ulva electrica industry, which is mostly Ulva electrica used in biofuel, food, because the Ulva electrica rich for the ulvine, which is the polysaccharide that can produce enough nutrition to human, and antioxidant industry, which is from I read antioxidant industry, which is the Ulva electrica itself have glutathione, which is can rejuvenate our skin, and from my research also, I found the fumaryl acetoacetate, which is we can use a protease and enzyme to cut off the sequence of the amino acid from the peptides, and we can use for building GHK-Cu, which is tripeptide, copper peptide that can give a good signal to our skin to be elastic, to increase the elasticity, and for boost our hyaluronic acid in our skin, so that our skin will be rejuvenate, and it will take a short time to be rejuvenate, but I think it can be. That's why I propose this study, so that we can use that method to produce a more GHK-Cu. Okay. For the next literature is I read for method extraction, which is for the source layer and double bonding method, and then three solvent, which is methanol, mixture of methanol distilled water and distilled water alone, which is the polarity of the solvent. For the anhydrous reagent, which is can produce human purple if they have the existence of peptides or proteins, and mechanism of anhydrous reagent, which is can from the peptides itself until it become a human purple. Okay. Then lastly is a quantification peptides by using BSA. BSA is rarely used large in our industry as a standard curve for quantifying the peptides or protein. That's all for the literature. The conclusion overall in this study shows that by using double boiling method is effectively to extract the Ulva electrica with a mixture of methanol and distilled water, which is 1:1 ratio, as the solvent with the highest yield of the extraction and yield of peptides or protein. Saucer method with the extraction yield of a peptide of saucer method with a mixture of methanol and distilled water as solvent give the highest yield of the peptides. Hope in the future this research will further study and help community to develop more method to extract Ulva electrica. So that's all for this conclusion, and for references, I read for the neohydrin, which is the mechanism itself, how to prepare, and next is about the seaweed protein and amino acid or peptides that occur in the seaweed, which is they have a lot of seaweed, but I try to find out which one that Ulva electrica can produce. Okay. For the last is from for concise review of green algae, which is the genesis Ulva electrica, which is I further read for the Ulva electrica, so that I have the knowledge that can further study to pursue for the further study, or I can develop more method that can extract from the evaluator card. I think that's all for me. Thank you.